In a scientific publishing house in Paris in 1853, a French bookseller, printer, and inventor by the name of Edward Leon Scott de Martinville came up with what he called the imprudent idea of photographing the word. His idea was to make a machine that would replicate the human ear in order to capture spoken words. Scott called this process phonotography, the self-writing of sound. On March 25, 1857, Scott received the patent for the phonautograph, and 3 years later, on April 9, 1860, Scott recorded an unsettling rendition of Au clair de la lune, and it wasn't until almost 20 years later that Thomas Edison invented the phonograph, which allowed Scott's song to be played for the very first time. This audio is believed to be the very first sound recording in history. Although it's a little difficult to listen to, Scott's recording is a stark reminder of just how far we've come over the last 160 years. Never before has it been so easy for us to capture and share audio at a moment's notice. From complex recording booths to simple handheld audio devices, it seems as though we are never far from a microphone. This technology has given paranormal investigators the ability to finally document their experiences in a more meaningful and scientific manner. In fact, it is believed that the very first electronic voice phenomena, or EVP, was recorded in 1938 using Thomas Edison's phonograph, just 7 years after Thomas Edison had died. Now just over 80 years later, hundreds of thousands of researchers, as well as unknowing bystanders alike, have recorded what many believe to be undeniable evidence of something real but unexplainable. From spirit voices to disembodied footsteps, the quality and quantity of the phenomena being recorded is quite literally out of this world. Tonight, however, we're going to focus on some of the audio recordings that seem to point to a more physical yet unknown source. From our local state parks and national forests to our very own backyards, tonight's episode takes a listen to some of the strangest audio captured in the woods.
The first time it happened, I was sleeping and woke up because I felt a hand on my leg, and I realized that I couldn't move.
And he come across this object on the ground, which was the shape of a flying saucer. So he jumped out of his pickup and went down there, and there was 4 beings laying on the ground.
When I raised my head back up, I was turning my head, and out of my peripheral vision, I seen something hop to a tree. And it was tall, about 7, 8 foot tall, and it was black, real hairy, like a gorilla.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Nick Ryan, and this is episode 36. Before we begin today's show, I wanted to share a little bit about myself. I thoroughly enjoy being in the great outdoors. My wife and I are both backpackers and avid hikers. We've section hiked a portion of the Pacific Crest Trail, starting in Yosemite National Park. Nature photography is a passion that we both share as well. We have visited many of our national parks throughout the United States, and have camped in a large portion of our national forests. While I've personally never recorded anything strange on camera or audio during my many nights under the stars, I do believe that there are mysteries in our forests. Mysteries that may in some cases prove to be dangerous to those who would go in search of answers. While that may sound vague, my intention, as always, is not to tell you what I think, but give you the information and have you decide what's real or what isn't. The audio in tonight's show is a small cross-section of what I believe to be possible evidence of strange creatures in our forests, and it is by no means a definitive list. It's also worth mentioning that the following recordings will be presented in chronological order. With that said, I'd like to go back to the autumn of 1994 to Columbiana County in the state of Ohio. It is here that our first audio recording takes place, and it was captured near the Ohio River by Matt Moneymaker of the BFRO. This recording is best known as the Ohio Howl. The recording is fairly short, so I'll play it twice with a brief pause in between. The Ohio Howl is one of the most famous and best quality audio recordings to date, and it's available to download for free on the BFRO website. The next audio recording was captured in Sequoia National Park in Tulare County, California, on November 19, 2012. A group of campers were standing in their camp as they noticed a strange yelling or screaming sound coming from the forest. Our next audio clip comes from the Umatilla Indian Reservation located in northeastern Oregon. After weeks of hearing bizarre noises coming from the nearby forest and swamp, a man recorded these odd laughs at 11 p.m. on January 21, 2013. Toward the end of the recording, you'll hear gunshots in the distance. After the last gunshot, you can hear a strange vocalization that sounds as if the creature was hit by the bullet. Here's the audio.
January 21st, about 11 p.m. I'm a couple hundred feet from my house, and you hear it going off in the background right now. Kind of sounds weird. Kind of sounds doggish, hyena-ish, but you can hear it going off in the background right now. It's really kind of strange, just to say the least. It's been going off for about 15-20 minutes so far by the fire station. And it's pretty crazy, so if you can listen, that'd be crazy. Hold on. I mean, that almost sounds like laughter. It's actually gotten closer since it started. It's probably only 200 feet, 300 feet from me right now. I don't know what it is or what that is going off right there. You can hear it. I mean, I've seen foxes and coyotes around here for a long time, and I'm not sure why, if foxes and coyotes have been around here that long, why we wouldn't have heard them before. And all of a sudden, since November, things have been just going crazy around our community. I think that was a gunshot. Somebody just shot over into the woods.
On February 4th, 2013, a group of friends on the Umatilla Indian Reservation also heard the strange sounds and went out into the night to investigate. This is what they recorded. So is this simply the sound of the local fauna or possibly something more? Every person on the reservation that has experienced the bizarre noises are familiar with all of the local wildlife, and they agree that they have had coyote and fox on the property for many years, but they have never known these animals to make noises that even slightly resemble the sounds on the audio recording. So what do you think? Our next recording takes us back to the state of Ohio, in March of 2015. Around 11 p.m. in Cuyahoga Valley National Park, Charlie Page of the Ohio BFRO captured this audio. Page stated that his audio recorder was within 1,000 feet of a scenic overlook called Hemlock Point. Page believes that you can hear a second creature responding at different intervals in the audio. Have a listen. On June 6th of the same year, and just 100 miles south of Cuyahoga Valley National Park, is Dillon State Park. The following audio was taken by a gentleman who was enjoying a walk through the park when he began hearing what sounded like a large monkey off in the distance. On September 23, 2015, CTV News in Canada traveled to Cormorant Island in Alert Bay in British Columbia to investigate reports of strange howls, screams, and even sightings that the First Nations residents had been witnessing. While this audio is primarily eyewitness accounts, they do play the odd vocalizations throughout the report. Take a listen.
A community off northern Vancouver Island is at the center of an eerie mystery. People in Alert Bay say they've been hearing strange screams and howls from the forest at night, and the legend of the Sasquatch runs deep in their First Nations culture. As CTV's Gord Kurbis reports, some are now wondering if those legends are real.
It's an eerie recording captured on a cell phone of something that's making strange howling noises heard throughout Alert Bay.
We heard it once, and I didn't get the recording, and then second time I got the recording, and that's when I was on the back porch. Very eerie.
The audio was recorded just recently on the backside of Cormorant Island. It's been heard by many all over the island.
This summer I've heard it 3 times. I've heard it scream 3 times. But it's been coming here for years.
Whatever's been making the noise is heard primarily at night. Some say it's a dog, but others say that's impossible.
With that volume, absolutely nothing. No dog can make that kind of a noise with that volume.
Art Dick hears the vocalizations just outside of his home. He's convinced the calls are from a Sasquatch. He believes the creature is real because of several previous encounters, like several years ago on a remote island further south when a tree was thrown at himself and fellow clam diggers.
Pulled the tree right out of the ground. The branches were still on it. I don't know anything that can just literally pull a tree with roots and all. I mean, you know, you see that little alder growing out there. You try to go and pull it out, you're not going to be able to do it.
While the howls and screams that have been heard throughout Alert Bay could be dismissed as simply animal noises, you have to keep in mind that Cormorant Island is a location where there is no wildlife. There's no bears, no cougars, not even any deer. And while you could dismiss the noises, there have been plenty of sightings.
One person that's seen it, her father lives in Alert Bay, and she came up to visit her father. So she went up to the graveyard to pay respects to one of her family. And when she went up to the graveyard, she seen it standing there. She turned around and she got out of there right away. She didn't even go to the graveyard.
And a more recent sighting when a group of teens were playing soccer near the band's big house. A large upright creature moved quickly alongside the building in just a few strides.
Yeah, they took off right away. They don't even stay there anymore after the dark.
This next clip is very short and was also recorded on Cormorant Island in the fall of 2015. I'll play it 3 times with a short pause between.
What? Sorry, did I say something else? What? Sorry, did I say something else? What? Sorry, did I say something else?
This final piece of audio was captured by a resident of Cormorant Island over the span of a few days. The recording may seem as though it has breaks in it, but this is because multiple short recordings have been condensed into one longer one. As stated in the CTV news report, the residents of Cormorant Island have been seeing and hearing these bizarre things for approximately the last 10 years. What lends additional credibility to these reports is the fact that Cormorant Island is basically devoid of large animals. In more recent years, grizzly bears have been spotted on the island, but are believed to only make the journey from the mainland at certain times of the year. What's even stranger is that after being reviewed by specialists, it was determined that the vocalizations don't seem to resemble that of a bear or moose. Our next piece of audio comes from a town just west of Bulkley River in Whitsett, British Columbia. On a snowy day on December 16, 2017, residents of Whitsett turned their attention to the nearby forest, as what sounded like a large unknown creature began screaming. The clip is fairly short, so I'll play it twice. As always, local authorities were unable to verify the source of the bizarre yells. Our next recording took place while a father and son were camping in the forest. As they sit by the campfire, they begin to hear odd noises, and they start recording. What sounds like dogs and then possibly coyotes begin to vocalize, just before an unknown creature starts to scream. And finally, the last audio clip of the night comes from northern Ontario near Sioux Lookout. On October 3rd, 2019, a man along with his wife and young grandson were enjoying time in the woods. As they were preparing to get in their vehicle to leave, they were startled as loud, booming screams emanated from just beyond the tree line. You'll hear his wife and grandson in the foreground attempting to get in the vehicle, as the man stands facing the forest, recording the unnerving sounds. As I said before, I wanted to bring you a variety of audio that I believe has merit and offers possible evidence of something undiscovered. I did my best to leave out any recordings that were obviously known animals, fox, coyote, bear, or moose, etc. While it's possible that these sounds are coming from something natural, I do believe they are worth investigating. But what do you think? If you've heard or seen anything strange in the forest, I'd like to hear about it. For stories or questions, you can email me at paranormalmysteriespodcast@gmail.com, or you can visit paranormal-mysteries.com. You can get involved by joining our forum and by following us on social media. And if you're wondering how you can support the show, you're supporting it right now just by listening. You can also help by subscribing to the show and sharing it with your friends. If you're looking for additional ways to show your support, you can visit patreon.com/paranormal mysteries and become a patron. New episodes are available on all of your favorite podcast apps, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. From all of us at Paranormal Mysteries, thank you for listening, and remember, don't wait for the unknown to come to you. Get out there and find it.